Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. With War Thunder putting out their 2024 infographic, Steam has also added the best of 2024 list. Now you may remember there was obviously the Steam Awards, which are always a bit all over the place in terms of what people actually vote for. Once again, the labor of love went to a meme one, which is Dota 2. If you've ever actually seen the Dota 2 community online, they always complain about Valve not doing enough for them, so this is just another one of those. Just like last year, where people are just having a bit of fun with the awards. When it comes to the best of 2024 though, which is what we're focusing on this one, War Thunder is once again featured in pretty much the same places where it has been for the last few years, showing that it maintains its market size even when everything else around it changes, which is pretty cool. One of the more interesting things as well that was talked about more recently with Steam was the simple fact that a lot of people were playing older games or games which were not released in 2024, and that's also kind of shown when it comes to the top sellers, most played, and all of these general things. A lot of the games are older games, whether it be free-to-plays or whether it be ones which came out in other years. The only game that really breaks this trend, or I suppose 2 or 3 games that break this trend, are Space Marine 2, Palworld, and of course Helldivers 2, which did come out last year. So, when we have a look at War Thunder, where does it sit? Well, it's in the gold area for the top games measured by gross revenue. So this is basically the most money that they made. In the top bracket, the platinum bracket, there are 12 games, and then in the gold bracket, there are another 12 games. So even though they're all jumbled all over the place, they don't actually have like a specific position in that bracket because they don't want to reveal which ones made more than others. That means that War Thunder is in the top 24 games on Steam of gross revenue. And Steam is the worst platform to actually buy stuff for War Thunder on, but it's still in the top 24, which is just nuts. It is one of those things which has always been wild to me, that one of the weakest platforms for War Thunder, which is Steam, it is still one of the largest that is around. Right now, currently in War Thunder, there are 112,000 people playing it through Steam, which is nuts, with an average of around about 60,000 players, because obviously there's quite a large drop-off when it comes to the American time frame. But it has been able to peak since August 2024 over 100,000 players and continues to grow over the years, with the last few years more maintaining the size. But that maintenance in size is straight up in the top 20 games on Steam for peak. Like right now, War Thunder is number 15 on the top games by current players, and if you do it by averages, War Thunder would be even higher, since it's one of those which has lasted so many years through Steam and maintained its status. For example, other games, such as World of Warships, are actually sat in much lower brackets of this, showing that the dominance of something like War Thunder in this genre is so much higher. World of Warships being in the bronze level, and also many others being in the silver level, which is just kind of nuts. So War Thunder joins other free-to-play games as well, such as Path of Exile 2, Throne of Liberty, Warframe, of course, The First Descendants, and also Naraka Blade Point as the free-to-plays in the gold section. And in the top section, the only free-to-plays are PUBG, Destiny 2, Apex Legends, Dota 2, and Counter-Strike 2, which is kind of the standard ones you see every year. So one of the interesting articles that we saw about Steam was that only 15% of time that was spent in last year for gamers was actually playing new games, so playing games that came out in 2024. And there was actually some pretty cool games that came out in 2024. You can actually check the new releases. You have Space Marine 2, obviously Helldivers 2, Manor Lords as well. You had Black Myth Wukong, of course, Stalker 2, which came out, and Path of Exile 2, which sneaked in with the early access, Dragon's Dogma 2, and also Palworld as well. You had all of these really cool new releases, but 85% 100% of people are playing games which are way older than this year. And that's just because you have the games which are designed around, trying to get you to put in a lot of hours, like a lot of free-to-play games or a lot of other ones, or you just have a lot of competition with games which are heavily discounted, which are just better in general. Manor Lords as a game is fantastic, but at the same time, there are so many medieval city builders. Is it worth you putting your time into? Now, when it comes to most played, they actually do this by peak concurrent players, where if it was by average players, I feel like War Thunder would be a lot higher. They are in the silver section of this, and that is because they have had a peak of over 100,000 players, which is incredibly impressive. But if you have a look at some of the games which are in this, such as things like Palworld, for example, Palworld right now, as a game, has probably a lot less people playing it than War Thunder at this current state. But if you remember in January, it was huge. Never mind, it has 205,000 current players. My bad. But that's because they released a huge update. During most of the years of the year, most of the months of the year, between basically March to November, their peak players was way down, with November 2024 being 34,000 peak players, whereas War Thunder's was at 100,000. Their average players between basically September to November was around about 17,000 players, where once again War Thunder's was 60,000. So when you have a think about most played games, it would be nice if they showed the average instead of peak, because peak is all well and good, especially for games that are more like single player focused, like Black Myth Wukong, or of course Elden Ring with its expansion that came out. But at the same time, it's one which can be heavily abused, especially if people do like free weekends on certain games where they just pump up the numbers like crazy. So I feel like peak is not where War Thunder is. War Thunder is a longevity game, and that's what these types of things tell you, where it's a game where so many people are playing it over so many years, and it's just one which never gets any recognition. It never gets any awards, it never wins anything in the Western audience or even in the Eastern audience, and it makes no sense because it's been consistently there in terms of these things. Think about the Labor of Love Award, right? The Labor of Love Award when it comes to Steam is one of those which everybody talks about for War Thunder because it makes the most sense. It is something which is, it's something that's been running for many, many years, and everybody has, a lot of different stories about it. So Labor of Love this year, the top nominees: Elden Ring, it's only been around for 2 years; Baldur's Gate 3, which I don't even understand. I suppose they made a DLC this year, and it's going to be the only DLC. Stardew Valley, which has constant updates. No Man's Sky, which always gets updated because it's the one that everybody clings to because it came out in such a bad state. That No Man's Sky annoys me, kind of like Cyberpunk, where it's like, yeah, we fixed our game, give us awards, so people give them awards. Then you have Dota 2, of course, which I think is more of just a meme at this point, but War Thunder is never mentioned in these categories, even with like the Game Awards, right? Like the Game Awards, they have also a category which is for this. It's like the best ongoing game, and the ongoing game went to Helldivers 2, which is stupid because the game came out this year and it's only had a few content updates. The other ones which were there, Diablo 4 is nowhere near, by the way, this list. Fortnite, of course, Final Fantasy XIV, and Destiny 2, The Final Shape. But when it comes to War Thunder, it's never mentioned in any of these things, and that's just because of the game and what it is, which is a war game. You hardly ever see these things really represented anywhere, and that just kind of makes me sad. But when it comes to War Thunder, it is one of those which is constantly increasing in player base, constantly improving, constantly going to the next level, and these type of stats that we get from Steam, that we get from Gaijin themselves, that we get from consoles, and also many other areas, teaches this, and that cannot be misunderstood. Many people talk about the idea of War Thunder running out of content, War Thunder dying, what's going to be the next thing. This is the same argument that all of these free-to-play games have, and every year they deliver when it comes to the amount of money they make, the amount of players that they have, and the general direction that they're going on. The amount of videos I see about War Thunder, or just any other game which has been around for ages, which is, why it isn't what it used to be, and players are sick of it. Not by the stats. That's only your opinions. So War Thunder will continue to grow. It will continue to be alive, and it will continue to prosper. And that means that the next decade is going to be a pretty fun time. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.